Let me explain in the simplest way possible how to make money in property without a mortgage deposit or interest. Okay, what you need to do is either rent to rent or deal sourcing. I'm going to talk to you about both. My name is Abdul Kareem. I've been doing this since 2016. I've made over 6 figures using either of these strategies combined. Now, deal sourcing is a foundational property strategy. You need to deal source to get properties, because how do you find a property? You either pay someone or you find it yourself. So deal sourcing is the best thing to get started. I'm going to explain to you exactly how to do it step by step with using all the platforms in about 5 minutes. Deal sourcing requires investors, it requires buyers. What should you start with? Start with buyers, because you need to start with the money. There's no point going out to look for something if someone hasn't explicitly or implicitly told you they will pay you for the service. So you want to start with investors. How do you find investors? 2 ways, online or offline. Offline, go to networking events. Search PIN, that's P-I-N, Property Investors Networking Events. Search PPN, go to training events, go and find investors. People are actively looking for strategy. Now, I like rent to rent. Since you're gonna go into rent to rent, you might as well find rent to rent investors. That's online, go to the National Landlords Investment. So go on Eventbrite, search property events, go find investors in person. Now, online, you could do this right now after this video. Go on Facebook, search rent to rent, search service accommodation, search Airbnb, search HMO. You will find hundreds of Facebook groups with these people congregated who are actively looking for deals. Look at posts, see people commented, I'm interested, and then you can make a post, say, I've got this property deal in this area, who's interested? People will message you. Online, offline, that's investors. Now, what's the strategy? You want to find 5 people looking for the exact same types of deals. You don't want Bob, Susan, and Sally. You want 3 Jameses. 3 James are all looking for the same deal. You want 3 people all looking for a deal in the same area. Why? Because if you find a deal, it increases the chances that you sell that deal. So that's investors. Spend 1 week doing that. Now, how do you find the actual deals? OpenRent, Gumtree for direct to landlord, Rightmove, Zoopla on the market for agents. I sourced my first few deals using agents. Now, you don't want to use any of the big agencies, anything that's commercial. You want to find independent estate agencies. Walk your high street, find what looks like, an Asian uncle, someone who's just trying to start his business, someone you can do business with, shake their hand, get an opportunity, explain to them the concept. If you want to find the scripts, templates, and resources to speak to investors and agents and landlords, DM me on Instagram, Halal, and I'll send it to you. Now, if you're going direct to landlords, you're going to go on OpenRent and Gumtree. OpenRent is more of a text messaging platform where you need to extract the phone number to call the person. Gumtree, which I prefer, has the numbers on it 60% of the time. So you just open up a bunch of tabs, spend 2 hours, minimum 2 hours on the phone. In fact, probably spend 4 hours, because it takes me 2 hours to get an opportunity. It's a skill-based game and you're not going to be as good as me, humbly. So spend 4 hours dialing landlords and you'll get an opportunity. Now, what do you do once you get an opportunity? You would have been calling in the areas which your investors, 3 to 5, would have said they're interested in. Let's take, for example, Northwest London, a real area. Go research that if you're serious. Now, spend your 4 hours finding an opportunity in Northwest London. You've got a landlord interested, an agent giving you an opportunity. You now set up a viewing with the interested party, your investor, and the party with the property, the agent or the landlord. Now, you should attend the property, but you don't have to. I've had students close deals without ever going to the property. I would recommend it, especially if it's in your catchment zone. Now, go to the property or host this appointment, get an offer from the investor on the property. 2 things you need to negotiate: price and terms. The price that they're going to pay for the rental of the property, the terms. Is there a deposit? Does it need a refurb? Do they need a break clause? Is there work that needs to be done? These things are very important. I often neglect them more to the price and the money, but it bites you if you don't do it work. So get the terms done. Now, speaking of terms, you need the contracts. Either if you're a professional like me, you have the contracts, DM me Halal for the contracts on Instagram, or the investor will have contracts, the landlord will have contracts, the agent will have contracts. Either way, contracts need to get signed. Now, I like to do in the process of investor submits offer. Offer is verbally accepted. I send out my terms and conditions to get paid, because I've been working, to get a deposit, not the full fee. The full fee is typically £3,000. I like to get a deposit of half or £1,000. I have them sign my sourcing terms and conditions. I collect my money in my bank. Once I've been paid, I know they're serious, because if they're not going to pay me, how are they going to pay the person that they don't know? I've been speaking to them for the last few weeks. So I get my money paid. Once my money's paid, I broke an agreement between the landlord and the investor. If it's an agent, they might have their own contracts. Either way, it's your job to make sure these things get signed. Once they get signed, the monies gets paid from the investor to the landlord, the agent. This is the rent, this is the deposit, anything else. Once that's been signed, you should now be the intermediary to arrange a key collection to your investor. At that point, once you arrange that key collection between the investor and the landlord or the agent, you should get your balance of fees, which should be about 3K. Now, you've already collected 2K done. That's how you'd make 3K in 30 days. That's it. Simple as that. If you want the scripts, templates, or resources, DM me Halal on Instagram or email me in the bio. Check my community. I've got the course in there too. Thank you.